Right.
And you have to use them as an agent of Hashem.
Right. And you know how that turned out. Not so good. Hi, good evening. Nice to see you. Okay.
Hello.
Nice to see everybody.
Hello.
God,
How are you?
Baruch Hashem. Okay, let me just silence this phone so it shouldn't bother us. Okay, I guess we'll get started. Okay. So here we go. Okay, so we're going back to that big Bet Yosef, that monster. The monster Bet Yosef, right? יהי רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהי ואלוהי אבותי שלא ירד דבר תקלה לידי ולא יכשל בדבר לך וישמחו בי חברי שאומר טומאה טהור ואל טהור טמא ומותר אסור ואל אסור מותר ולא יכשלו חברי בדבר לך ואשמח בהם כי אדוני ייתן חוכמה מפיו תת ותבונה גל עיניי ואהבית נפלאות מתורתך. All right, here we go. So it says like this, Katvut Tosfot. I think that's where we are. Should I point it out to you where it is? Let me try to help you. If I can. If I can, I will help you. Okay.
Here's the problem with me. I either concentrate on the reading and trying to translate, or I focus on the logic.
Right. I think we're here. Katvut Tosfot. Right there. Okay, very good. Let's go. So it says, Katvut Tosfot, Kivan she'efshar b'mino, since it's possible to do with the same type, without doing shatnez, right? Why would you do shudan and shatnez? Lo v'le'el asikna dechute bishtan potrin b'shel tzemer. So that which we concluded that strings are made of linen are absolved, the ones that are made the beggar, which is made from tzemer, from wool. Hainu behadet chelet. That's only with chelet, as we said, right? The migo that chelet patar. Since it paters the chelet, b'shel pishtan, the linen. Lavar nami patar. So then the white also works, right? It's like it's like a domino effect. Once you do one, you also do the other. Right? That's the way it works. V'afagav devshar b'mino, and even if it's possible, even though it's possible with its type, the high, the pshitale, and that which it's pashut to him, it's simple to him, to fade the chutet tzemer potrin b'shel pishtan, more so than the issue of strings of wool that they absolve linen. Because nevertheless, there's already kilaim, there's already shatnez there, and nami midoraita, the rachamana sharia. So as we said, right, possibly because from the Torah, the Torah allows this. Rabbanan hu de gazu, and then the rabbis came and decreed on it, as we said. I'm sorry.
Without the hell decree,
Without the, I'm sorry.
Without the hell don't.
Right, exactly. The yeah.
But by the Torah, it's okay.
Right, according to this opinion, right? There's different ways of looking at it. Okay, so the gazu the chevan de efshar lekem shenehem. So they said like this, they made a gezerah, according to what we saw in the Gemara, that what? Since it's possible to do both of them together, then why should you do something prohibited? But according to the Torah, it's allowed anyway. The kilai mamash hutar etzel tzitzit. Why? Because shatnez is allowed when it comes to tzitzit. But lo mishum dechia, it's not because it pushes it out. The maskinan le'el the patar, and that which we said above, that absolves it, that's b'dioraita from the Torah. Ename, like alternatively, maskana lo kaima hachi. But he says alternative, even though the conclusion is not like that, right? Adkan leshonam. There's another pair, ketubot, another Gemara. Right, there's another Tosfot there, right? Lots of Tosfot here, there, all different places, right? That's how it is in Tosfot. sometimes they contradict one the other. This is this is the issue. That's why he's bringing these different tosfot. Right? Katvu b'shem Rabbeinu Tam. So they wrote in the name of Rabbeinu Tam over there tosfot. The chol arba'a chutin lavan vaday asu. That if you have all 4 white strings, which are it's asur. In other words, you can't do shatnez in a case like that. You don't need it, right? Because you don't have any tchelet.
What is he basing it?
The principles that we already laid out, right? Just a repetition, basically, of what we said before. You know what I mean? When you don't have any tchelet, it's not allowed. The only question is if it's the right or the rabbanan, right? That's the only question. But everybody agrees it's not allowed, right? So that's what he's saying. You can do with its own kind. He says, when you have the issue of strings which are made out of linen, they absolve the wool. This is what it means to say. It means 2 strings of wool. They absolve the linen, right? The migo the tchelet patar, since the tchelet also paters it, absolves it, because it's already shatnez as it is. By way of tchelet, shebo lavan shetzemer nami patar. So therefore, it also works on the white as well, right? It's like a chain reaction. Once you get this going, right, then it catalyzes the other one. Catalyzer.
The thing, strings of different types, like the lavan is of.
They're all wool, but just different colors, right? That's what it is. They're all wool. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, so then he goes on to say, since 2 strings of white absolve this beged, the shel pishtan, which is made out of linen, so he says, therefore, same thing when it goes to 2 strings which are made out of linen. That's same effect. It's going to absolve a beged which is made out of wool. Same thing. Goes both ways, right? 2-way street. Right? Okay. So and even though there's no shatnez there, or there's no tchelet, so therefore there's no issue. That's what it says also on the beginning of Yevamot. So there's another tosfot, right? So you have several tosfots over here, right, going in all kinds of directions. They're pretty much saying the same thing, more or less, right? Yeah, pretty much. It's on the same page. But here it doesn't go into the issue of the Rabbanan Deoraita, right? It doesn't go into that. It just says it's asur. That's all, right? Yeah, so that's okay.
But Rabbi, how come nobody's bringing the source?
Of what?
Either it's the Rabbanan or right?
Ooh,
based on what?
Yeah. Well, the truth is, right, that the Gemara is undefined, so therefore it leaves it up to the Rishonim to interpret that, right? What, that's the way it is, right? When you have an undefined Gemara, you need the Rishonim to explain what's going on. You know what I mean? That's the story.
How can the Rishonim explain it?
Right. How can they explain it? Because there's several things. Number one, they use their logic, their experience, their knowledge, their wisdom, to understand what's going on. You know what I mean? That's what a chacham is. You know what I mean? Chacham means he's wise.
No,
you know what I mean?
that generation that wrote the Gemara, they were even higher.
Of course.
And they couldn't come with a conclusion.
No, it's not that they couldn't. They just didn't. They didn't say it. They didn't bother to tell you what the story is. There's different ways to interpret it. That's the thing. Yeah. You know why that is, by the way? The reason is because the oral Torah is so vast, you can't write everything down, especially like in one generation, So it takes several generations, So the oral Torah is still being written down as we speak, and we're still not finished. You know what I mean? We're still going. And we haven't managed to write it down. So what I'm trying to tell you is, right, that that's the job of each generation, to bring forth the oral Torah that applies to their generation, to with their wisdom, with their knowledge, with their understanding. This is the job of each generation. You know what I mean? So the job of the Rishonim was to codify the Talmud. You know what I mean? In other words, to organize and understand and explain, and define everything. And that was the job of the Rishonim. These people were on a much higher level than we are. What I mean to say is that they studied the Talmud like, I don't know, 10,000 times, like, something which we can't even, dream about.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about. We're lucky if we do it one time. You know what I mean? Like we're make a big party. Oh, you finish the Talmud. Oh, wow. They were doing it 10,000 times, thousands of times finishing it. So for them, it was like second nature already. Like the back of your hand.
Mhm.
Everything was like, that's the way it was. That's what Rabbi Yosef, the chief rabbi, said about Maran, his father. He said that he told him when he was 30 years old, he already knew the Talmud by heart. And he had like PDF, like in other words, like each page, like everything was paged out,
Mhm.
so like you can scroll back, forth, He had like a scroll thing going on there.
Mhm.
Scrolling, yeah, PDF, yeah.
Wow.
That's how he had it when he was 30 years old.
I'm just,
That's why the Rabbi Zatia, he said when Maran was like about 30, he said he already has the Chokhmah of the Ben Ish Chaya already at this age. You know what I mean? Can you imagine what that is? Okay, so that's the way he was.
the Rabbi,
Yeah.
the Chachamim of that time, it was so obvious to them that they did not state it in the Gemara. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, they just couldn't, they didn't have the time or the resources, to define everything. It's not possible, And the truth is, they didn't need to, because they understood it very well.
Right. But
I mean, for them, that was enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? But each generation, as the generations go down, we need more definition, more, more help. We need more assistance. We need more. Yeah, we need more. We're like pathetic, basically, right? That's pathetic generation. Doesn't have any, that's what it is, right? But a person who's, by the way, a person, who studies Talmud, like, when I was younger, like we were learning Gemara all day. Nothing else, pretty much, a little bit here, a little bit. What you see, by the way, is that if you're on the ball with the Gemara, when you're learning Gemara yourself, you know what I mean? I'm not talking about art scroll, like, because the art scroll is this crutch, you don't want that. You want to learn it natural, like Rashi, the natural way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So once you start learning Gemara the natural way, not the artificial way, that's not really so good. But once you do it that way, what happens is that they say, automatically you should have the same questions as that are being asked by the Rishonim, the Rashba, the Ritva, the Tosfot. You should be getting the same questions because, that's, you're learning by logic, step by step. So those questions should pop up into your head. You know what I mean? More or less, that's what it is, That's why, by the way, what we used to do is when we were young, learning Gemara, what we used to do is, that if we had a question in the Gemara, we would open up the Rishonim, and start looking in the books to see. And usually, you find somebody who deals with that question somewhere, some Rishon that deals with it.
Mhm.
If they don't deal with it, you know what that means, right? It's not a good question. It's like, if they didn't deal with it, if they didn't ask that question, that means the question is really not so good. Sometimes
else.
that's what it means. It's the whole thing, it's a whole methodology, what I mean? It's whatever, but Tosfot, what they're doing a lot of times is not something that we can do, or some other Rishonim. What I mean to say is that Tosfot is asking questions from one Gemara to another. So if you don't learn both of them, you don't know these questions. You'll never know them. You know what I mean? Because what happens is that one contradicts the other, So they ask, well, what's going on, right? This says like that. So they give an answer, it must be, right? X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. That's the answer, right? They give you like two possible answers or three, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, investigation, But if you don't know the other Gemara, you're not going to ask this question yet. So what does that mean? That Tosfot is too early for you. You really shouldn't learn that Tosfot because you don't have that question. But the problem is that in Yeshivot, though, they force you to learn Tosfot a lot, So what happens is that you're learning questions in Tosfot which you naturally don't have, so you don't relate to it.
Right.
You're not on that level yet. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. So that's when it gets a little bit shaky. The whole thing. That's why I used to prefer, learning not like that. To do every Tosfot. That wasn't my objective. My objective was to learn it with Rashi. And if there's a question that comes up, look in the Rishonim. Look at the Rishonim. See who answers the question. There's the Rosh, there's the Ritva, there's the Rashba, there's this, there's that. All kinds of Rishonim, right? If you can't find it, go on. You know what I'm saying? You can't stay on it forever. You can't. You can't stay on the one Gemara for 2 months like they do in Chafetz Chaim. You know, we don't do like that.
Even a page of
Okay,
Gemara.
I'm sorry.
A page of Gemara.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the one Gemara, for 2 months, 3 months. God knows. It's not good to do that. Okay, whatever, because you don't get anything done like that. That's the problem. You have to know your level. You have to know what you're holding. Like don't jump ahead of yourself. Thinking that you're Tosfot. You're not Tosfot. Tosfot, they learn the Gemara 10,000 times. I mean, what are you thinking about? You're on that level? You have to understand what you're holding. That's the whole thing. Okay, very good. So anyway, getting back to our issue. בשל פשטן, שני חוטא לבן, בשל פשטן, אינם מפותרים, בשל צוואר, we already said this already, ולא נעשה חתם כלאיים, וכן כתוב ולא שיהיה במות. Right, so וכן נראה שהוא דעת רבנו. That's what seems that the Rabbeinu holds also the tour, meaning what he holds like the Tosfot, שכתב בתחילת הסימן בזמן שהיה תחילת, so he wrote like this, right, that when there was תחילת, מצוותו שיקח שני חוטים כפולים. There was a mitzvah to take 2 folded strings of tchelet, shel tzemer, which is made out of wool. Of course, tchelet has to be wool. There's no other way. Tzmuim tchelet, they're colored with tchelet. U'shnei chutim kfulim shel tzemer laman, and then 2 white, right? 2 tchelet and 2 lavan, 2 white. Or shel pishtan, or it's going to be linen, or could be also. U'medichtiv achi stama mashma, since it's written like this, stam. Mashma delechola begadim mehana. It's mashma. It implies that this helps you with any kind of beged, right? Any kind of beged can be absolved like this. Even though the white part is kilain, it's shatnez. But since there's tchelet over there, it's allowed, right? Chain reaction, domino effect, right? Goes jumps from one to the other. Okay, good. The katvu od, right? That's a new section there. כתבו עוד התוספות, זה תוספות, בפרק אלו נערות, another תוספות, right? וזה לשונם. צריך עיון, we have to investigate this, עם שני חוטי לבן של פשטן, if 2 strings, white strings, which are made out of flax, linen, ושני חוטי לבן של צמר, and 2 which are made out of wool, מותר לתת בטלית של צמר או בטלית של פשטן. Are you allowed to put this in a talit which is made out of wool or linen, right? Either one. Is that okay to do that? Right, because it's like not the standard way. Like you got 2 different types going on. Half wool, half linen, right? Okay. I think you asked this question before, maybe something similar to that. Today or yesterday? I thought it was yesterday. Anyway, I think you asked this yesterday. This question. That's what I remember.
Mix of materials.
Right, mixing them. Yeah, mixing them. Yeah. I think you asked this question. I don't remember. Okay, so anyway, right? He asked this question. The Shema lo yitru shnei chutei lavan ela davka b'makom tchelet. So he says maybe it's not possible to do this way. That what does that mean? That they only allowed 2 white strings when there's tchelet. But when there's no tchelet, no, maybe not. It's not so. Or dilma lo shna. Maybe that doesn't make any difference. Why? Because 2 strings which are made out of linen will exempt the clothing which is made out of tzemer, wool. And even though, right over there in that case, the tchelet doesn't really help you or hurt you, because with that tchelet doesn't become yet shatnez, right? Because as we said, right, it's allowed. In the beginning of Avamot, they wrote another tosfot, right? Another tosfot. The davka b'makom tchelet patar. That only in the case when you have tchelet, it absolves it. But if there's no tchelet, asur, you're not allowed to do it this way. Why? Because you can do it in the regular way, right? With its own kind. Why would you want to do it, right? The other type. Rabbeinu afal pi shekatav be'atar she'enon tchelet. And Rabbeinu, the Tur, even though he wrote that now we don't have tchelet, right? So we shouldn't make shatnez, right? So what does that mean? To Tosfot, this wasn't pashut. If we can do that or not, it was a question mark. You know what I mean? But Rabbeinu said the Tur, let's not do it. Right? He already made up his mind, right? So he says we have to say that it's not precise what he's saying. What does that mean? Even at the time when there was tchelet, if he doesn't put tchelet, it's asur anyway. doesn't put chelet, it's asur. In other words, doesn't really matter whether it's chelet or not. The question is, do you have it to use it for your beged? That's the question. Okay. That's tummy kilayim. Shari afshar lekayim et shtem, because you can do both of them. Ela kadeh lomar milta psikta, but in order to say something which is consistent, nakat ata she'ena mutchelet. So therefore, he said, we don't have tchelet today. It was manazeh. Lo mashkachat shum gavna shuchal laasot mikilayim. So therefore, there's no way to do shatnez, right, with tzitzit today, as we said, right? Because we go the chumrah with that. Okay, the Katav Rabbeinu Yerucham. So says Rabbeinu Yerucham, Chute Pishtan Potrin Bebeged Shel Tzemer. The strings made out of linen, they do absolve beged, which is made out of wool. The Chen Behifuch, and also the opposite way, right? Two ways. The Kilayim B'tzitzit Mutar. Why? Because shatnez and tzitzit is allowed. But Davka Kishe'eno Motze Mimino. That's only if you can't find the same type. You can't find any linen, right? Tzitzit. But if he finds it, Lo yatir bo kilayim, and don't put shatnez. So you see from there, by the way, another possibility. It could be, that you have like a linen beged, right? Or whatever. So they're telling you, if you can find it, bring linen. If you can't find it, you're allowed to use wool, even though shatnez. Why? Because you have no choice. As we said, right? When there's no choice, it's allowed. That's also considered to be there's no choice. You can't find it.
Even if
You, by the way, go today, right? You try to find tzitzit of linen. You're not going to find it. It's not on the market. You know what I mean? So what are you going to do? The only way you can do it is with the wool.
You say
Right?
even you
Yeah.
don't have to hell it, it's okay. If you don't
Yeah,
have
because
to
it's
use
not
it,
possible any other way. As we said, right? The general rule is when it's not possible, comes the positive and pushes off the negative. It's the general rule. So it applies here as well. That's what he's saying. Sort of a chidush, but it makes sense, Makes sense what he's saying. Like Rish Lakish said in the Gemara, Kol makom she'ata motzeh aseh v'lo taseh, right? This whole thing we mentioned yesterday. It's the Gemara. So same thing applies here as well. So says Maran, so it doesn't seem right to me. This is what he's saying here, right? Rather, that since they're downstairs, since you can't find right that type, since it's possible to do ilu haya matzuilo, if he had it, it would be possible. So therefore, he says lo dachinan et lo taseh. So therefore, we don't push it out. So Maran doesn't agree with this. He says we shouldn't do it this way. So what does that mean? If you have something like situation like this, don't use it at all. Put it in your closet and leave it there. Okay. Can I help you with something? Have a seat. Sit down. Join us. Sure. Okay. So, where are you from? Do I know you? Maybe without the beard, I know you. Maybe it's possible. You look familiar.
You never saw me.
Okay.
Because I don't recognize myself.
Okay.
I have a beer
What's your name?
More than 4 years.
What's your name?
Hanan Pe'er.
Hanan
Pe'er.
Pe'er. Your last name?
Pe'er.
Pe'er. What is this? From Africa? From Tunisia?
No, it's from Samarkand.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Originally, it was Priya.
Oh, I see. You
When I
changed it.
was
Okay,
in
got it. I
army,
got it.
was changed.
Okay, you became African. I'm joking. Okay, so okay. All right, so let's go on, right? As we said, nice to meet you anyway. Where do you live, by the way? Where do you live? Yeah, so why'd you come? Your side? Very nice. Okay, good. He was your friend? He was your friend, this guy?
No.
Okay. So anyway, we'll get back to our discussion, right? As we said. The Rambam katal per gimel. So it says, right? Rambam said per gimel. Kisut shel. You see where that is, by the way? Should I help you? Okay. It says kisut shel tzemer. If you have a beggar which is made out of wool, osin lavan shela chutet tzemer. You should make also the strings wool. Kisut shel pishtan. If you have a beggar which is made out of linen, osin no lavan shel chutet pishtan. So make the strings also linen. That's what the Rambam says, right? Mimina, the same type. The shabegadim and other ones, right? All the other ones, types of fabrics. Osel lavan shel kol min, right? So what do? You make the white of each type umin. In other words, whatever that fabric is, you make the tzitzit also from the same fabric, as we said, right? That works because those are derabanan according to Rambam, right? Those are all derabanan. Okay, so if you want mitzemer, if you want to use wool, that's also fine, right? Pishtim or linen, you can do that too. Right? Oh, said because they work with everything, right? These two, so that's fine. There's no shatnez, there's no issues, right? So you're good. Okay. Or mipishtim ose mipnei she'atzemer upishtim potrim. So he says, why is that? Because as we said, right, the wool and the linen, they absolve all types, right? Ben beminam, ben shelo minam, whether it's its own type or a different type, so on and so forth. B'shar kol haminim beminam potrim, but the other ones, he says, the other types, they only exempt with own type. Shelo beminan and potrim. When it comes to something which is not that type, they don't absolve. Umau la'asot chutei tzemer b'kesut shel pishtan. So what's the halacha? Are you allowed to make wool strings on a beged which is made out of linen? Same question as before, right? Or the other way around. Are you allowed to do that? Right. So who's asking this question now? This is the Rambam.
That's shuttles, right?
Wait, but now we're talking about different opinion here. Yeah, this is the Rambam. Yeah. So the Rambam is asking this question. Apparently, right? That's what he's asking.
We just said that there's no other way, then it's allowed.
Right, but those were different opinions. Let's see what the Rambam is saying, right? So good. Right. So he says, even though it's only white, there's no tchelet there, no tchelet. But dinhu sheyeh mutar. So says that it really should be allowed to do that. Right, as we said, right, according to the Torah, it should be allowed. Shatnez mutar le'inyan tzitzit. Because shatnez is allowed what tzitzit says. There you go. Right.
That's the Rambam.
Right. The question is let me just make sure here. Which Rambam is this? Ped Gimel. Ped Gimel. Okay. Okay, interesting. Very nice. Okay, so then he goes on. So you see, the Rambam holds like one opinion of the Tosfot that we already saw, right? One of those opinions. Okay. Interesting.
The Moran has not made up his mind.
Not yet. No, we're still not there. But I think we already know the answer pretty much, right? You're not allowed to do shatnez, as we said, right? You're not allowed to do shatnez unless you have tchelet. We already saw that in Shulchan Aruch.
Yeah, the previous.
Right. But this is what the Rambam is saying. The only question really is, is it the right or the Rabbanan, as we said, right? That's the question. Let's see what the Rambam holds, right? So he says, "Mutar la'inyan tzitzit sharei tchelet tzemer matinim zot bishtan mat enosin ken." So he says, then why don't we do it if that's the case, right? If it's allowed, why don't we do it? Since you could do with its own type, right? The white. So he brings the rule of Resh Lakish in the Gemara, right? Whatever you have positive, negative commandment, right? If you can do both of them, do both of them. If not, okay, comes the positive and pushes off the negative. That's what the Rambam is saying, right? So
Rabbi,
yeah.
We said there's no pushing of the negative here because it's right from the Torah. That it's with the tzitzit, you should do it.
Oh yeah, right. But there's different ways of interpreting that. Is it a push off? Is it whatever the right we said, right? There's different ways of looking at that. Anyway, right. Let's go on for a second. So now Maran is analyzing the words of the Rambam, to see what does this mean. Right? It seems from his words. You're not allowed to do it since it's possible to do with its own kind. That's what he says, right? Rambam holds like that. Therefore, we don't pass like Shmuel in the Gemara. That he holds that you can use wool with linen, right? And also not the answer over there, whatever. Since Rechava said, because he says over the Gemara, they do absolve one the other, right? So we pass like Resh Lakish. Right? So Resh Lakish says it's only if it's not possible, then you can do it, right? Otherwise, no. Right? That's how we pass him. Question is again, right? Is it the right or the Rabbanan? Right? It's the only question. Right? So Yachol came to Shneim, not Mutav. So now the punchline, right? Whatever you want to call it, right? So he holds, he says the Rambam, when you have tchelet, nami ma'areh resh lakish, even when there is tchelet, right? What does that mean? Midoraita kamar. So he's talking about the Doraita. Shafa pishe tira kilayim b'tzitzit. Even though we allow to have shatnas in tzitzit, lo tira ela hechad de'ev shar be'inyan acher. It's only allowed when there's no other way. Dainu le'atil tchelet b'pishtim. What does that mean? You have to put. There's no other way except to put the tchelet, which is wool, on a linen garment, right? There's no other way to do that. You know what I mean? There's no other way. We already mentioned this before one time.
It's not a chafila.
That what?
Shatnez and tzitzit.
That's a discussion we'll get. Yeah.
If you have ability not
Okay.
to do shatnez,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
the best. That's what you're saying.
Right.
But if you
right.
don't have choice, you can do a shatnez.
Yes. Okay. I see there's a Ben Torah. He knows some things over here. Okay, we got somebody good over here. Baruch Hashem.
No,
That's good.
but
You know why?
I thought it's not a
Because
chafila.
he lives in
Shatnez
because he
is
lives in Brooklyn. That's why he's a Brooklyn guy. He knows his stuff. Very good. Baruch Hashem. Very nice. I'm happy to hear you. You have.
Doesn't matter, good, not good.
Yeah, I like it.
guess.
Makes me happy. Okay, so anyway, right, as I said, there's different opinions over here going on. You know, we're discussing this right for like 2 days. You know, this whole discussion. So there's one opinion says that it's allowed in any case, right? Like naturally, you know, there's no, you know,
Allowed.
the Torah allows it. The Torah allows it.
So it's not have to, it's allowed.
Right, even if it doesn't have to be. That's one opinion. There's another opinion says it's the Torah allows it, but the rabbis forbade that. The rabbis forbade that. They only allowed in case when you have tchelet.
All what we have is the tradition.
No, because we have the strings are made out of wool and also the beged, so no problem, right? We don't have linen. We don't have linen tzitzit today. We don't have linen.
Right, today it's
Cotton. But that's not linen, right? Very good. Like, cotton is okay. Cotton is fine. No problem, right? Even though it looks like linen
Yeah.
a little bit, looks like it, not the same thing, right?
So if it's even though
Yeah.
if it's linen, still it's okay.
Right. So yeah. So now he's trying to tell you, according to Rambam, if it's the only time we allow it according to Rambam is if you have a linen beged and you have tchelet. So you got it. There's no other way there, right?
Why?
Otherwise,
the
you
head
know,
is also it's wool, right?
right. It has to be wool. So there's no other way.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. There's no other way.
But you can also say have to hellet with a wool garment.
Right. But what I'm saying is if you have a linen garment, there's no other way.
Right. But that's only if you don't have a wool garment. Saying. So if
No,
you're saying,
that's a different issue. I'm saying, you know, I'm talking about you have a linen garment.
Yeah.
Right.
And you want to wear that. There's no other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in those days, linen was a big thing. You know, it was a big fad.
Hmm.
In those days, you know, like it was a cool thing to wear. You know, it was cool people wore linen. You know,
but
that's the way it was,
Is
you know?
Rambam also saying that if you
Yeah.
have a choice of wearing wool with the hellet, just do that.
no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about listen. Nobody can tell you not to wear a linen garment. It's not, you know, nobody can say that. We're not talking about that. You understand? What we're talking about is that if you have linen, then you need it, this heter. Otherwise, you don't need it at all. You should always just put wool. You know, that's it. Right, exactly. So yeah, there's no issue. Okay, whatever. You got the point. So they have shal kem mitzvot tzchelet b'elav sheyidacher lav kilayim aval lavan shebo, but it says the white came on the shal le'atil bo bimenu. So he doesn't even allow you to use the white. You understand? Only the tchelet itself, according to this opinion. Interesting.
So Rabbi, are they saying that the Torah says, especially about the shatnez, just to give you a way out? Basically, just if you need to do that. It's not
Right, if you got no
like-
choice, you're in the corner. You know, you're in the corner. There's no choice, so then you can do it. You know, but there's different interpretations of what that means, right? Practically speaking, as we see, right? There's like 3 ways of looking at it. So okay, interesting, right? Okay, good. So which neighborhood do you live in, by the way? Which neighborhood? Canarsie. Interesting. Wow. You have a community there?
Yes.
Very nice. Very nice. Wow. Beagola. Who's the
What's his name?
I don't know, but I'm very happy you have something, Baruch Hashem. Very nice. Beautiful. Okay, so let's go on. So
The interesting thing, I don't, aside for I don't want to bother you.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Why Torah let, if it's Lachatchila, it's supposed to be, not supposed to be, Lachatchila, it's not supposed to be
Yeah.
flatness. So why Torah tell you know what, if it's going to be Shabbat, it's still okay.
Because in Tzitzit, it's okay, you know, Tzitzit is a special
Why?
thing.
Why?
Oh, why? That's a philosophical question. You know? That's not a halachic question. You know what I mean? That's the way Hashem wanted. Hashem wants it that way, right? Why does Hashem want it that way?
Hashem give you God's law.
Yeah.
This like this and this like this. This cannot be here and this
You
cannot
know that
be
there's
here.
a famous Gemara like
Here
this, right?
they
Yeah.
let Hashem let
Yeah.
what?
There's a famous Gemara like
this.
this, you know? There's a famous Gemara. Maybe you're familiar with it. It says, right, that everything, every issue that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made, every prohibition, there's also a permitted way to do it. Did you ever hear about this
Okay,
before?
yeah.
This is exactly the example. There's always a permitted way to do everything. So whatever you want to do, whatever is prohibited, right?
Yeah.
There's a permitted way to do it also.
It's a way that
Right.
you can do it.
A Torah
in
provides a permitted way for everything.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's an incredible thing, right? It's an incredible concept.
Somebody can steal,
Wow, I'm sorry.
they can kill, steal, and there's a.
Yeah, you're allowed to kill. You know, let's say you see, you know, somebody boil, you know, he's going with a goya. You're allowed to kill him, right? So things like this, right? You know how it is, right? Okay, right? So yeah, oh, there's all kinds of things. So the Torah allows many things which are not allowed, you know, usually, you know. Or if you see somebody who's a kofar, you know, so you're allowed to kill the guy, you know, like Lapid, you know, this guy, the prime minister. He's a kofar. You know, you're allowed to kill a guy like that. You know, whatever. Okay, so anyway, right?
No name, no name.
No names. Everybody knows his name. What can you do?
We have to pray.
God bless. There's no prayers for those people like these people. They don't do tshuva.
Not for him, another for this
They
one.
don't come back to do tshuva. They don't, these people like this. Okay, anyway, we're not going to talk about that. But anyway, right, get back to what we said. So therefore, what should you do? Only with the tchelet you're allowed to use shatnez. But the white part, you should put linen. That's according to this opinion. Because you don't need it.
Have to be shot.
Right, tchelet has no choice. But when it comes to the white, there is a choice. You got a choice.
What's
Yeah.
white mean? White is
The white, so like we have white tzitzit, right?
It's wool.
Tchelet is blue and white is white, right? Two different colors. That's what we're talking about, right? Today we don't have tchelet, right? All the stuff they're selling over there is fake. It's fake stuff.
Yeah.
It's all fake. They're making some good parnasa on that, but they're gonna go to Gehinnom, right? Okay. What can you do? Okay, so what can you do? That's the truth, you know. When you trick people, you deceive them. It's a very big sin, you know. A very big sin to deceive people. They don't know that they're deceiving them, but there are some bad people there, you know, behind them. You know. Okay, whatever, right? I don't want to get into that now, but I have a classes on that I did already. You know, if you want to see those classes. Okay, so anyway, getting back to what we said, right? So this is the way he learns the Rambam, Maran, in a very strict manner, a very machmir manner, right? Okay, so then he goes on. Right? And even though there is already kilaim there, the tchelet is kilaim, there's always shatnez there, right? But talitzo, in this talit, we already have it. Sharei tila ba tchelet, because he put tchelet. So we don't say just because it was pushed aside, now we also push aside the white. Right? So you know what it says? Whatever is possible to diminish the prohibition, we should diminish it. Therefore, right, that's what you got to do. But it says difficult. Oh, now it comes with difficulty. If so, if that's the case, right? If that's the proper way to learn the Rambam. That's the shita of the Rambam. Meaning, how do you say that if he wants to use white from other types, right? Mitzemer, from wool or pishtim or linen, he can do. That since at the time where there's tchelet, Mayre is talking about where there's time where there's tchelet. If you mix white, shilshah, meaning you mix white from other types, pishtim, kishimatil, right, from other besides linen. When he puts both tchelet, yimtza shehu kilaim, now comes out to be kilaim. Makom Shayev Shalik came at Shneim, but now in this case it was possible to do both. You didn't really need it. Why is that? Because it was possible. Lo lasot chutei lavan shel tzemer. You could have made white with wool, the white part, or mimino, or the type of which is on the beged, same fabric. So now when he puts tchelet on it, there's not going to be kilaim. There you go, right? In other words, there won't be kilaim. You know why? Because there's no wool from the tzitzit. The tzitzit is also a problem, you know? You're putting two tzitzit together, right? You're putting linen and wool together in a tzitzit. That's also an issue. That's what he's saying. And since also he holds that when it comes to talit, which is made out of other fabrics, except those two, it's patur from tzitzit according to the Torah, Minat Torah, right? As we said, it's only the Rabbanan according to Rambam. So then, how is he allowed to make the white from flax, from linen? Because when he's going to put tchelet there, it comes down to kilaim. So so therefore, the way to explain it like the Rambam like this, he comes up with an issue here, and it doesn't come out so good. Therefore, right, he seems to now go a different direction, right? So he says, therefore, really the matil lavan levadom ma'ire. So he says, he's talking about here about something else. That when you put white by itself, and regarding that, he said the kasut shel tzemer, or said lavan shel tzemer, or the kasut shel pishtan, or said lavan shel pishtan. Regarding that, it was saying, right, that if you have a beged which is made out of wool, you can also make the tzitzit wool or white, the white tzitzit. And also the same thing with the linen as well, same idea. But when it comes to other fabrics, you can use the same fabric as the beged, or to use right, as we said, wool or linen, one or the other. And then afterwards he writes, that to put strings of wool with a beged which is made out of linen, or the other way around. When there's no tchelet, today we can't do that. It's kilaim. There's no mitzvah over here to do that. Why? Because you can do just using the same type of as the fabric. About talit shel pishtan. When you have a talit which is made out of pishtan of linen, sheitil bat tchelet. You put tchelet over there, so therefore you already have shatnez there, right? It's allowed, right? Mutar la'asot laban shela shel tzemer. So now he's telling you can make the white of wool of the wool though. Why? Because even without that, we're not going to be able to uphold both of them, right? Because there's tchelet there. And there's no, you shouldn't ask a question here, right? We shouldn't put tchelet. That we shouldn't put tchelet. We could do tzitzit without tchelet, right? With lavan. So why don't you do it that way? Just do it with linen. This is not an answer. Why? Because since the Torah said that the tzitzit requires tchelet, if you have it, right? If you have it, you should put it. And he didn't do the mitzvah tchelet in this talit. The only way to do it is with kilaim, with shatnez. So therefore, it's considered to be that you can't uphold both of them. So therefore comes the positive commandment and pushes aside the negative. So then, if that's the case, so if you're going to ask me, why do we allow to put tchelet on a talit of pishtan, of linen? Right, so you can do both of them by not wearing the linen. Just don't wear linen. Like, this is your question, right? So you got your question, right? So just don't wear linen. What's the problem, right? Tosfot already answers the question, right? So what was the answer? Let me see if the same answer as me, right? I hope so. Hope I don't get into trouble over here. Okay, so it says, Tosfot, the Perek Elul Ne'arot, the answers over there. She'en zeh chashuv efshar. That's not called as possible, to say something like that. In other words, you're telling a person don't wear linen. The Torah doesn't tell you that. That's not a reality. You can swallow. The Torah never told you not to wear linen.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
by the way,
Yeah.
I forget, where does the Torah says it has to be, permits shatnez?
Cannot put you techelet, right? That's what it says, right?
Right, but
That's
it
the
just says on
pasuk.
the corner put
That's
a,
what we learn from.
but it doesn't say it has to be wool and linen, does it?
That's the way it comes out. If you darshan the psukim, right? Look in the Gemara over there, Menachot,
Yeah.
comes out like that, right? There's the yeah. That's the way it comes out. So okay, so yeah,
It says ksur. What is ksur? And then,
yeah, sure,
then it says, titchet.
right,
Necessarily beggar that people they wear. Because they're beggars.
sure.
It's not special that we have. to
Right,
do.
right. No, it's not special. No,
It was beggars.
Yeah.
So beggars,
this is the way they lived. You know, that's the way they lived.
That's what they live.
Yeah.
And
That's-
Hashem
that's-
said, when you have beggar to put tzitzit. put
Very
the
nice,
tzitzit.
very nice.
That's my question. It doesn't necessarily say it has to be wool and linen.
No, so it means that you can wear anything. And if you have our comfort, you have to put.
That's the way they darshan.
For the
in the psukim.
tchilah, it's for tchelet, it says you have to put tchelet.
Right.
But whatever you wear whatever you want.
But
And
where
the
do we
mo-
derive that it can be kilayim?
So therefore,
Sorry?
it means that it's kelayim.
It's in the pasuk. They darshan over there. You know, we already passed that already. We went through that already, but we didn't go. You know, we didn't go like deep into that. You know, because that's like more Gemara, the
Hmm.
Gemara issue. You know, getting to the Gemara there. What's going on there? How to learn. Nice to meet you, sir. God bless you. Derech Shalom. Okay, so as we said, right, that so he says, for me, he says, Maran, I don't think there's even a question like this. You know, you can't even ask this question. Why? The Darshan and Smuchim, the Mishnah says, that's exactly your question, right? Since we darshan the pasuk, which is close by those words, you know, to allow shatnez in tzitzit, that's how we darshan the pasuk, right? So you're going to tell me don't put chelet on pishtan, then how are you going to have kilayim tzitzit, right? It's not even possible. So what did the pasuk come and tell you? Right? Something which is not possible.
Mhm.
Okay, whatever. In can kilayim the shara rachamana, but tzitzit. So it says if so, all right. But it says when it comes to the white strings of the linen, the shel tzena, right, which is wool. Even though he's putting tchelet there, נראה דכיוון שלא הוצלח לדחות לאו לתחילה מפני התכלת גם מפני הלבן, לא יידחה שהרי אפשר לקיים שניהם בשלא כדעת רבים אותם. So, but it seems to say, right, that the other two strings that which are white, you shouldn't make them wool. That's it seems to be his conclusion over here. So what does that mean? Like the Rambam, basically, right? The way he understood the Rambam.
Mhm.
Not like Tosfot says. Okay, yeah,
Just the
that's
fidelity.
right. Like not like Rabbeinu Tam, right? Not like Rabbeinu Tam. Katabti le, like which wrote about the hava svira le Rambam hachi. But if the Rambam would be holding like Rabbeinu Tam, lahava shatik mina, he wouldn't have been silent to explain that, you know, explicitly to say that. Since he didn't say that explicitly, it's allowed to do that. Therefore, we have to go to Chumrah. So therefore, he says, right, the other two white ones, you should make them not wool.
But it's already shatnez.
Right. Nevertheless, he says, but the Rambam didn't allow that. Okay. No, what can I tell you? Interesting. Okay, we got like 5 minutes, whatever. Let's see where we can go. Right, that's the next piece. So now we're talking about the windings, right? As we said, right? We're not really much particular about how many you do. It's only minhag, you know. We have minhag today, but in halakha, there's no big issue there. How many windings you have to do, right? As we said, even one is enough. Remember
That's
we said that.
knots.
I'm sorry.
First 2 knots, one winding.
Right, one
knot,
winding.
2
That's it.
knots.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So one is enough, basically, right? When it comes to winding. So Kvar Katati Basamuch says, we all wrote this already close by. Had Tanya Bresh Perkatret, that's what it says in the Gemara there. Hapochet lo yivchot misheva chuliot. That says in the Gemara there, don't do less than 7. Right? Can you get the Shiva Rekim? Because of the 7 heavens. Then Mosif lo Yosef al Shalosh Aseh, and don't more than 13, as we said, because there's also the 6 air spaces. Can I get the Shiva Rekim, the Shisha Averim? Benem, Rashi explains there, Shisha Abirim. What does that mean? 6 air spaces. Ben Shiva Rekim, they're in the middle of the heavens. It's like fillers, buffer zones. Right, whatever, right? Ve'al Sham atchelet domeh layam. So he says, what does that have to do with it? Because tchelet looks like the sea, right? It has the color of the sea. It's blue, right? Ve'yam domeh lakia, and the sea looks like the sky, right? Which is also blue, right? Medamed sidura la sidura ki'im. So therefore, we compare one to the other. That's why we use this number 7 and 6, because the heavens are blue. And the tchelet is blue, right?
Reminds you of Shammai.
That's why we said, right? When it comes to white, we're not really makpid on this, only with the tchelet, because the whole similitude of the blue is only with tchelet. So therefore, what we do today is 7, and this is just a minhag. It's not really so much halacha. You know what I mean? Okay. So שאף צבעה כמו כן נזקק לציצית, לכן כתבו התוספות בראש, that's what they wrote תוספות בראש, כתבו עוד, שאין לנו תכלת. So now he writes, right? Nowadays we don't have תכלת, אין דקדק במינים יכול להיות, so then we don't care about how many windings you do, as we said, right? We're not really מקפיד on that. ומהי תמה, so it says because of this reason, אין צריך לקשר על כל חוליה וחוליה. You don't really have to do on each winding another knot. Why? Because the whole purpose of the knots is to know how many windings you have, right? Each one, to know how many numbers. Says Rambam, so it says Rambam like this: if you make white without tchelet, so you take one of the 8 strings, he winds it around, on the other ones, right, until 1/3 of it, right? As we said, right, the winding should be 1/3, string should be 2/3. Right? So if he wants to do like tchelet, the same number, no problem, right? You want to do that? 7, 13, right? All these numbers, no problem. Not really obligated, but it's good. You want to do it, fine. So that's how minhag he says. There you go, minhag, right? So it says if he wants to just wind it with no minyan, right? Doesn't count at all, doesn't care, how much there is. Right? Oseh, you can do it, no problem. In other words, it's not a big minhag. It's not an obligation, it's minhag. So it's a general rule is like this. The point is, he says, try to make it that the winding should be 1/3 and the string should be 2/3. That ratio should be try to keep that ratio.
Try it must be.
It's not gonna. It doesn't mean it's not kosher. You know what I mean? It's just because of beauty. It's because of noise, aesthetics. It's an aesthetic issue. Okay, good. So so it says there are some more not really particular about these things. 2/3, 1/3, right? When it comes to the white. So it says if he wound the white on most of the strings, or if he just one winding, it's kosher. Okay, maybe we'll stop here. Let's see. Yeah, I guess we can stop here. So we'll start Mash Katav next time, right? Mash Katav Rabbeinu. Okay, very good. So we're going little by little in this Bet Yosef. There's still a lot to do. Can you imagine? There's still a lot more material here. So we're grinding on, right? Thanks for coming. Thanks for being patient, Zoom people. God bless you. See you tomorrow, and hopefully you're not getting overwhelmed with all this stuff. Right? Laila Tov. God bless you. Happy holiday.
Thank you.
Danielov, and get some rest. All the best. All right. God bless. I like this guy. Nice guy.
Yeah. Nice change of last.
People from Brooklyn. I like people, Brooklyn people.
Rabbi, tomorrow I have to go for the 7-day